morning, grinders. Welcome to RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderHD, if you want to follow me on Twitter. And it's Thursday, October 19th. We'll talk in a little bit about NFL DFS Showdown tonight, the Saints and the Jaguars, as well as some props, some pick'em, because you know who we have on the show for that. Especially it's Will Priester, the head of Chiefs Prop Shop in the RotoGrinders Discord. Feel free to join us there, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Hit that thumbs up button if you're in the chat. Give me those thumbs early in the morning. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. Chief, we were talking just before. College football props. I've been doing very well with college football props, and I don't know University of Texas El Paso or Sam Houston State. I don't have any reads on the Florida International or anything like that. I use our college football projections, and I just bang them out. And yesterday we had a little bit. We had a little bit of the discrepancy that the early bird gets the worm sometimes. Will, right? Like people will. You see this often sometimes that, you know, some people, depends on the person, in the prop Discord, your prop shop, they're like, oh, I'm gonna, oh, Will's on the over, right? But like Will's on the over like 6 hours ago, and now the over has moved 12 yards. Like maybe the over isn't good anymore at another 12 yards. And a lot of people are like, oh, what does the 12 yards matter? What does the 4 yards matter? Right? Yeah. Yesterday, the 4 yards matter because
big time,
right? Because you got a number a little bit worse than I got a number, and I made money, and you lost it by just a margin. That's a very small margin.
Not a margin. Like so that's the thing about props. Sometimes Blender is when situations like that happen, you just have to laugh. So you got it at 186. And I actually got it in the morning, but it was just, I guess I was too late in the morning. I don't know, but
it depended on the book. And just to be fair, if I saw it at 190 or whatever, 192, it still would have been value at minus 115 or something. Like it's just a matter of like I would have taken it the same way that you would have taken it based on our projection. But I just happened to look at the projections like a half a day earlier than you did and grab the number before it moved up to like 192 or so.
Yeah, for sure. So and that's what's crazy because we got it at 190 and a half. Now he went in overtime and was able to pick up the 190 on a 25-yard pass. I got it at
the half. He didn't pick up the half. Will.
I got and so
what do they say, Will? What's the old school thing? You lost by the hook.
Lost by the hook.
Even though it's a prop, you lost by the half.
Lost by the hook, and that was one of the only ones I missed last night. Outside of a receiver prop, which the receiver, I think he just ended up on the field for like I don't know, hardly anything. Like the quarterback just went nuts in the New Mexico State game. Like I mean, I think he had 90 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. They were in control of the game. He just wasn't going to get there. But my point is, it's really uncanny sometimes how these lines are recorded, and the guy finishes right at 190, and it wasn't 192 on one side and 190 on the other. So we were over for a little while, and I said, okay, so we'll see which one is right, and obviously the correct stat provider was 190, and then they all updated to 190. And I said, well, you just throw up your hands and move on to the next day. And, Did
you also have yesterday in college football, did you have the Kelly Akarai under 69.5 or 67.5?
No. I had, I didn't play Kelly. I took Pavia from New Mexico State, the quarterback. I took him over fantasy points. Like he cleared that by
that was
12 points.
Obviously, the over fantasy points you're playing on Prize Picks. Like that's not a number that they're hanging.
And I got it at a good number because I got it at 22, 23 and a half. It closed around 24, 25 and a half. But I mean, he still blew past all of them. Another one I was heavy on was a Shoemaker fantasy points. I got it at 19 and a half. He closed at 20 and a half. And I mean, he didn't fly by, but I think he finished around 22, 23. So that was fine. It was just that quarterback play. I also took the running back from FIU.
I'm assuming you took Hankins. Did you take Hankins over?
No. I took Shamari Lawrence. He was a little bit
Shamari.
too low.
I had Shamari. I put together because you get these bonuses, right?
Okay.
On the regular sports books, you get these bonuses.
Yeah.
Like you may be playing a lot on Prize Picks and Underdog, but you get these bonuses where, like, I'm gonna find the best way to use them, even though like they may not be the greatest of value. It's like, well, these are the things that the sportsbooks want me to do. They want me to take these bonuses. I'm gonna be placing 100 other props. I want to do similar behaviors that other normal people would do. So when they offer me something like put together a we're going to give you a bonus, right? Some 50% profit bonus, but it has to be an SGP and it has to be today and it has to be in college football. And I'm like, there's like 2 games. Like what? Like there's not much available. So I take a look and I go, I have Shamari Lawrence over 39 and a half at that point. It moved up to 43 and a half. And I just looked between the books. I'm like, in this game, what's tied to a running back on that team doing well? And I compared, and the book that I had the bonus had the best value by only a couple of cents for his anytime touchdown score. So I'm like, well, if he's doing well, maybe he scores a touchdown. So, but I need a third leg, right? So you like these SGPs, you're forced into these third legs. So I'm like, well, I already have Shamari Lawrence is over. And I think that's plus EV. The anytime touchdown score, those markets are one way, but at least I have the best number compared to 5 books. So at least I got that. And then I'm like, well, what's correlated to that? I'm going to take the FIU spread plus 6. Right. So I'm like, most likely if the running back does well, right? Right. Most likely they win the game, but in worst case scenario, they scored on the ground and they lose by less than 6. Yeah. And I plug that all in together. It comes out to like plus 320 or something like that. And then I play the $25 bonus and I go there, give it I'm not putting together some large thing with like plus 1,500 odds or anything. Like looking at the projections that we have here at RotoGrinders and going, what's the best way for me to play this bonus that makes sense in an SGP? Because I may have had other pieces, other props, but they don't like common sense. They're like negatively correlated to each other. Like I'm not gonna take the entire team's passing game under. Like one of these receivers is gonna go over. Yeah, if this guy goes under, like it's not gonna be that all 3 or 4 of their receivers are going under. Like I'm not gonna pair those things together. I'm just gonna be like, okay, where's the best bang that I could get for these bonuses and put them together. And I've run fairly well over the past 2 or 3 weeks putting these bonuses together in the best way. If the anytime touchdown score prop on the site was awful, like 50 cents off from other site, I wouldn't have done that. I would have found some other way to put something together. But like this is how you could squeeze out some extra EV, right? Just like we get with Prize Picks and Underdog. Like Prize Picks, you get the Taco Tuesday, right? The Flex Fridays. Yeah. Like those are the times where, like, dude, they're gonna give you a Taco Tuesday that's gonna significantly be plus EV. Like, even if it's a very quiet Wednesday or Tuesday or whatever, like there's enough stuff that's on the board that you could put together in a smart way for the $25 promo that they give you. If you can't, like, I can't really, like, I'd much rather I'm assuming you agree with me for Prize Picks on like Taco Tuesday. I'm putting together a 5-pick flex no matter what.
Yeah, I'm on 5 to 6s. That's all I do.
I'm not going to do it.
That's it.
I'm not going to do it 2. I can find 4 things that make this worthwhile to do because I get paid so much better on a 5-pick than you do on a 2.
Yeah. 5s and 6s are all day for me. Especially, let me say this, especially on Flex Friday when they're going to give you the promo back if you just lose it all. Like, just go all the way. Just take the 6-pick, and if you hit it, then it's like, hey, great. If you don't, you're not technically losing any money. It's going to be promo, but you know, that's the way I like to play. And let me say this too, Blender. Even the other night, this was Monday Night Football. Underdog had 2 promos. They had a Dak over over total yards at half. You know, he just had to get 1 yard, and they threw a Justin Herbert up for like an hour. So it was only $10. Don't get me wrong. And of course, I did 5 picks. I hit one of them, made $200 off of $20. So I basically ended up with a 10x return, right, on what I put in. And I almost hit the other one, which was crazy. That the guy needed to get 1 tackle to at least push, and he didn't get. He had 4 tackles in the first half. Blender got 0 tackles in the second half. How does that happen? I have no idea. But the point is, take advantage of. On Underdog, those are more free squares. I call those actual free squares where he has to get a yard. On Prize Picks, it's more like you said, they're giving you enough of a discount for you need to take the over, right? But my larger point is always take advantage of the promos, the odds boost. All those things are important for your profitability long term.
Alex Santi in the chat asks, why are NHL, I don't know, I'm assuming props are so low on the pick'em sites relative to our projections? Because we have a large NHL slate tonight. I'm not necessarily sure which ones you mean. I mean, I know, Will, you're not much of an NHL person. I've been doing NHL props since the season started.
Oh, I have as well.
I don't think they're low. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what Alex. And maybe you could clarify it in the chat.
I've taken a lot more unders on NHL than overs for what it's worth.
Well, no, that's absolutely. Typically I'm taking unders. The thing is, what they're doing now on. Have you seen Underdog?
You're talking about the fantasy stuff? Points?
Yeah, no. What Underdog is doing is that they're not giving you that option, which probably is smart from their end of the types of people that they want as clients. So, for instance, how they're pricing it is that a lot of times in NHL, I'm taking unders, right? I'm taking under 2.5 shots, right? And because I have it as like a 59% win probability of the under 2.5. Yeah. Now, normally in the past, they'd move that down and maybe make it under 2 and then leave it and let it hang there. What they're doing now is they're not giving you the choice of the under 2.5. They're saying over 2.5.
Well, for increased payout. Yeah. The peppers,
right? Yeah. But like for someone like me, that's typically looking for undervalue. Like once they add the pepper, they're never adding enough that it makes the win probability worthwhile to even take the over with like 1.5x or 1.75x. At that point, I'm typically going and making. I'm just doing the straight up prop on DraftKings or BetMGM or something like that. FanDuel's props aren't very good for NHL.
Yeah.
So it's like sneaky. It's like, okay, I put in all my props on DraftKings and BetMGM. Those are the 2 main books that get the best value for NHL props. And then I'm like, okay, let me go to Prize Picks, see what's available there. I put together like a 5 or a 6 of the best ones, and I'm like, and then I'll move over to Underdog. And then now I've been going over to Underdog, going, where are the numbers? Like I only have like basically only overs. I have to find the overs that I have and go, do they still have those over? And a lot of times the overs that I have over 1.5 for this guy on DraftKings, and then they don't have the over 1.5. They have the over 2, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, that's not good enough, right? Or they'll have on a 2.5. They'll have the over 3, but you get 1.25x. And I'm like, let me do that calculation, and I type it in with the how much the payout here and what's the payout on DraftKings. It's like, no, I'm getting more just betting it straight than I would using it as an underdog play, even with the multiplier with the pepper. And I'm like. Yeah. Sneaky underdog. Sneaky.
Yeah. They've taken it away, man. I will. Let me clear this up for Alex. So let me say this too, Alex. On Underdog has a different scoring system than FanDuel and DraftKings in terms of the fantasy point scoring, and so the overlay that you see is actually the FanDuel scoring. If I'm about 100% sure because I was cross-referencing it myself. I'm about 100% positive the scoring overlay that you're seeing is FanDuel scoring, so it's not really comparable leg for leg per se. So really, we either need to
the underdog extension needs to convert.
Yeah,
whatever
we
that
got to
is.
get a new formula for it,
right?
or or
The
you can
Prize
add it
Picks
up
one is fine.
yourself.
The Prize Picks one is fine.
Yeah, or you can because Prize Picks, they don't really have the fantasy points anymore for NHL. They took that away. I think it was set up for. I actually think theirs was set up for DraftKings back in there, or maybe it was. I can't remember, but it was. If it wasn't exact, it was so close that you could use our projections, like for NHL.
I mean, you could use our projections regardless. You just have to calculate what the fantasy points of all the means would be of all the stats.
Yeah. So that's really what you got to do. And for NHL, there use our use our statistical projections, if you will, and then do it manually. And I could probably come up with something in my own Excel spreadsheet and spit it out within a matter of minutes. Like that might be the way to do it until we get a true formula for it. But that's why it's so high, because a lot of them, and I know what he's talking about, our projections are double a lot of times what theirs are. Like if a guy's at 9, we're at 18.
The scoring system
right,
is totally different.
Because they're not matching. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So props pick them. Some little tips and tricks there for you to start the show. But let's talk about tonight's game. We'll bring it up on the screen. We have Eric Wardenberg, Napsterman, has a free article on the site, NFL DFS Showdown lineup optimizer.
And Napsterman has been around a long time. For those of you that don't know, I mean, Napsterman is like a legend, really. He's been doing this. Hats off to Napsterman, seriously. Like he's been doing this a long time.
We'll have our for premium members, we'll have our Sim Tool Showdown HQ. I don't believe that's up yet. So you'll see that here. We have the props and pick'em stuff. Obviously, we have our experts weighing in. We have the props tool that you could use here if you're a premium member. Click on that link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. You get lineup HQ. You get the projections. You get ownership. You get all of it. It's a smorgasbord of value. But we're going to take a look at tonight's game. I think the biggest talking point, the biggest thing on tonight's game is Trevor Lawrence going to play?
Yep.
If he does, what is his prognosis? And we have Trevor Lawrence at 9,600 on DraftKings. CJ Beathard is 8,600. Jacksonville's going to New Orleans. It's a low total game, 39. And obviously that total has come down probably a little bit because of uncertainty around Lawrence. We've seen the Jaguars receiving props move a little bit lower than they probably should be if Lawrence was in. What do you if you had to obviously 6:50 Eastern or 6:45 Eastern, no. They're unlikely to keep him active if he's not going to play. But at this moment in time, are you more, if you were building lineups now, would you be assuming that Lawrence plays? And would that matter? How would your construction and the way that you're going to build your showdown lineups matter if Beathard plays instead of Lawrence? Like, how much of a I know Lawrence is better than Beathard, but I don't necessarily consider CJ Beathard to be like a garbage quarterback. Like, does it change your approach to building showdown lineups at all?
I think it will change it slightly. I think I'll probably be a little bit more into the Tampa Bay offense if he plays. I know that sounds crazy.
The Jacksonville offense. Hopefully not the
Tampa Bay. Sorry. I said Tampa Bay. I meant Jacksonville. Because what I think is going to happen to me, and this is me, Blender, anticipating ahead of time what the field will do. So it's not a perfect science, but I think if Lawrence is out, I think the field's going to be much lower on Jacksonville, and I think their offense is good enough to still move the ball some, even if he's out. Like, they've still got ETN, they've still got Kirk, they've still got Ridley, and if they get behind, like I think Blake Bortles has shown us over the years.
CJ Beathard. CJ. Oh, you talk in the past.
Yeah.
Blake,
Right.
Okay.
In the past,
I'm like Blake Bortles isn't on the team. But I think I know the point you're making, that a quarterback like that could still fantasy wise be fine, because the old school people that play NFL DFS know that you plug in Blake Bortles for 4,800 in your main slate lineup, and then you just don't watch the game in the first half. Don't care that he has -2. You just know that he's going to throw enough. He's going to throw 57 times in the second half. That you're going to be fine with you're going to get 12 points no matter what.
Oh gosh, yeah. So that's the point I'm trying to make. Like, if they get behind, they'll have to throw. He'll make some connections. Maybe he throws a touchdown. Maybe he lucks boxes into falling into the end zone with the rushing touchdown. But I always say, especially with a guy like CJ Beathard, he's played in the NFL. It's not like he's a rookie. He's played for the 49ers. We're not saying he's elite. We're saying he's a competent backup quarterback that should be able to keep this offense floating, sustaining some type of production. And so I'll be a little bit more into the offense. And then if you want to look at it from a real life standpoint, Blender, the team would have prepared for Lawrence all week, for what they think he's going to do. So that will give him somewhat of a leg up, if you will. If he's playing well, they'd have to make some adjustments at halftime. So all in all, I'm going to be much higher on the Jacksonville offense. I'm still going to have plenty of pieces of New Orleans. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying from a game theory perspective, if you will, the field's going to be much lower in Jacksonville, and I think that'll be a mistake in this particular scenario.
Right. We have to figure that some of the highest owned players on the slate are going to be Kamara, going to be Chris Olave at 9K, Kamara at 10.4K, Etienne 10.2K.
Yeah.
I mean, truthfully, it's kind of weird for me to say. I almost feel like Alvin Kamara may actually be underpriced. Like, I feel
because of the target share in the rushing.
Right, because of the combination of how he could get there. He's going to be I think he's going to end up being the highest owned player on the slate. I think even if Lawrence plays, I think this ownership is going to come down, because people will be like, well, how confident can we be, even if he's a game time decision or whatever. So I think the Lawrence ownership is going to come down a bit. Derek Carr at 8,800, I think may end up being a little bit overowned. I'm much more likely. I'm assuming we don't have the sim tool up yet. It should be up soon, by early this afternoon. I'm going to guess that Kamara is most likely the optimal captain. It's just a matter of how owned he's going to be in the captain spot.
Especially if Lawrence is out. Especially if Lawrence is out.
Right. But I feel like even if I could play a lineup that has a lot of Jacksonville and just play and don't play any of their guys in the cap. Like, if I'm going to play, I could, for instance, let me put it in. Like, if I put Kamara here, the problem on this slate is that the low end value, there's really no low end value. There's nothing, there's not much hanging out down on the bottom with maybe. Some of these guys, like Foster Moreau at 3,200 is a little bit rich, right? You're going to have to use a Brenton Strange or a Jamal Agnew or something down there. But I have no problem with a Kamara captain, right? If you could do something like this with Kamara captain, you play Lawrence with Engram. You play, Engram and Ridley, right? You have 5,300 or something like that. You could play, I'm filling in. I could play Kamara at the captain, so I could play maybe the New Orleans kicker.
I do like the New Orleans kicker tonight for what it's worth. Just in simple counting stats, New Orleans is averaging at least about 3 field goal attempts. Well, I think it's 3 field goal attempts at home. So, and he's been fairly accurate this season. So I do like that call for the kicker.
But you could fill this in. You could maybe play Shaheed or something. You have enough money here to do stuff. Even if I plug in Christian Kirk and I play the entire stack, right? Kamara captain, Lawrence, Engram, Ridley, Kirk, and you still have 2,600 left. I could play Tank Bigsby or something. I have no problem playing 5-1 lineups with the captain being Kamara, the captain being Olave, like the pricing is soft enough in the mid range that like I'm less inclined to try to just keep on jamming in like Kamara, Etienne, Olave. Like it seems like you just don't have enough value on the bottom end for that type of stuff. But I'm assuming our sims are gonna show. I don't know. That's why I like using the sim tool that we have here at RotoGrinders, at least for the showdown stuff. You'll see, Will, you were on the call. You were on the call on Monday, right? Internally.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I've been teasing this. I've been teasing it. We have a sim tool that shows output of our simulations, which you'll find here, like Showdown sim tool and Showdown HQ coming right. It'll be out soon. But that's all powered by a back-end system that we're coming out with at RotoGrinders along with Fantasy Labs, that you could just run the sims yourself and see the lineups and the types of lineups that you want to play. And here at RotoGrinders, I think it could completely revolutionize like how we kind of come up with lineups. We may be more often on these shows not showing lineup HQ as much and showing SimLabs and playing and toying around with, well, if we played this guy with this guy and that guy with that guy, like what are the highest lineups that cash more often than not based on our projections? What are lineups that show up in the top 1% more often than not? How do we balance out this thing and just run lineups that way? I mean, it's so much easier than kind of like trying to derive information out of like a simulation output file of like Kamara is going to be 18% owned in the captain, but he's optimal 21% of the time. Like that doesn't necessarily tell you what types of lineups those are. Yeah. But our new SimLabs tool, which should be coming out fairly soon, we saw it on Monday. I mean, especially for Showdown, Will, I look at that tool and I go, yeah, I need 20 lineups tonight. Like, screw lineup HQ. I'm going to SimLabs.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's going to get really interesting, especially for NFL, particularly as we get closer to the end of the season. Well, when I say get close to the end, I'm saying like it's week 7 now. I'm saying by the time we get to week 10 or 11, where we're kind of in that slightly past midway point, and now I think SimLabs will probably be. My assumption is it will be up and kind of rolling by then. That give you 3 weeks ish. I'm very excited about it because especially for somebody like me with the way I like to play. So I especially for Showdown. So for those of you that have listened to me and Blender hang out and talk about Showdown probably for at least the past 3 years, Blender, we've been able to talk Showdown at least a few times a month. Me and Blender have a similar philosophy. We just do it different ways. And I think if you've watched the show, like we understand that about each other. I'm definitely into locking guys in on Showdown because of those iterations. And if I end up being wrong on a guy, I'm fine with that. But because of the iterations and the ability to do, that's really why I like to lock a player in if I feel like they've really got upside. Mostly in the flex, though, not necessarily at captain, but mostly in the flex, a guy that I don't think is going to be an optimal captain, but I think is going to be necessary to take it down. That's kind of how I like to play. So for me, when I'm able to get in SimLabs, and
you can do that in SimLabs, you can literally say, I just want to see lineups. I want to see 100 lineups with this guy.
Right.
Even if you're not going to play 100 lineups, you're going to be like, I'm going to play 20 of these. And you can just scroll through and go,
yeah,
well, I've all been simulated and here's all the stats on them. And these all should be pretty good. Then I'm going to just select the ones that I want. And they're constructed the way that they should be.
Yeah, correct. And that's the beauty, I think, of SimLabs. Now, there's some other features that Lineup HQ will have that SimLabs won't have. But I think once we get used to this style, Blender, I will, because everything's going to have a growing or learning curve for your style of play, right? Like everything kind of has that, but no matter what system you use. I remember back in the day, I was trying to figure out, did I want to use Fantasy Cruncher at one point? Like how much better was Fantasy Cruncher versus, RG or whatever, back, way back in the day. And it just ended up being better. RG just seemed to fit the way I thought better in terms of how I want to approach lineup, how I want to build, how I want to change projections, whatever, right? And so I ended up doing that. But with SimLabs, I don't have to do that as much. I can just kind of say I want this. And it's a little bit more involved than that, but I can kind of tell exactly what I want. And then Blender, it's going to give me mostly exactly what I want. Like in Lineup HQ, sometimes I'll say, hey, I want 50% of this guy, and it's giving me 38%. I'm like, I got to make some more changes. In SimLabs, if I say I want 50%, Blender, I'm going to get 50%, and it's going to give me the best version of all these lineups with him in them 50%. So it's going to be good. I think people are going to enjoy it. I know we're teasing a little bit because we've seen it in action, but I think it's going to be good.
Right, and also, this is a morning show for 11 a.m. We're not necessarily sure about Trevor Lawrence's status. I mean, tune into the pre-lock show tonight. That's on this YouTube channel. It's on RotoGrinders. Click on that subscribe button. Click on the notification bell. You always know when it goes live.
Yeah.
But you said mentioning about, you're the type of person that I don't mind the high variance in my portfolio. I'm playing a bunch of lineups. I'm going to lock a guy in. Who's that guy on this slate as of right now?
So for me, if we're locking guys in, and remember,
I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you should. All it does is increase the variance. Who are you most confident in using in your lineups? I think that's a better way of putting it. I never like promoting like you have to lock someone in and increase the variance. Like you
don't have to do that. That's just my style. That's why I always clarify that. That's my style of play. Even in NBA Blender, like when I'm in big GPPs, I end up locking in a guy or two. Like that's especially on FanDuel, that's my style. So don't, and I don't do it every single slate, but like a lot of slates I will. So we're not telling you that you have to do this. It's just my style. For me, I think it's Michael Thomas today. But once again, here's the thing. I think Michael Thomas is the quintessential flex play because I don't think he's going to score enough points to be optimal in any. So I'm not even going to play him in the captain, Blender. Like he's getting zero captain exposure, but he's got one of the best floors because of the targets. And he's not their downfield threat. That's Shaheed, that's Olave. He's just a guy, 8 to 10 yards, picking up racking up catches. He'll have 5 or 6 catches for anywhere from 40 to 60 yards. If he has 70 yards, it's a good day for him in this offense as it's constructed right now. And he's just got some of in my opinion, the best floor on the slate for the price. Once again, best floor for the price. So Michael Thomas is my lock button only in flex. I will not play him in any captain at all tonight. Lock him in the flex, and now I feel like I can find the iterations that will get me what I need to get close to the top 1%. And if I'm using SimLabs or Lineup HQ, I should have a good shot if I'm right.
I think on the Jacksonville side, I think that the Evan Ingram fits that bill also.
Correct.
I mean, like Evan Ingram. I mean, all these receivers, like Ridley, like Zay Jones, isn't going to play.
No,
right? They use Ingram as a wide receiver practically, and like yes, Ingram has a lower yardage and a lower ADOT than Ridley and Kirk, but he's also like over 2,000 less expensive. His projection from a floor standpoint. Do I think Evan Ingram and captain, like you'd said about the Michael Thomas? Is Ingram going to be putting up 20 plus points? Maybe not. But from a floor perspective, like if I had to choose, like we're building this dummy lineup right here, I'm going to put Ingram in the flex, right?
Yeah.
So now for captain, who would you, if you had the lock button, I mean, we're using the term lock button. Someone in the cat, like who you're more likely to play, you're going to be over in the captain spot for like I look at guys like Olave and Kamara and Ridley and Kirk. Like these are these are the people I'm more likely to be playing in captain.
Absolutely.
So for the sake of this show, and we're building out this this lineup in the morning, who are we putting in our captain spot?
Let me just say too, Blender. So on DraftKings, I never lock in a captain unless it's like a Lamar Jackson slate and he's playing the worst offense. He's playing against the other team has the worst offense in football, and they just don't have anyone, and everybody's injured. Like to me, that's the only time you kind of need to be having a lock button on DraftKings or FanDuel in terms of MVP or captain. Like I don't think it's optimal to lock in captains because of how the game works. You know what I'm saying? But if I had to choose a captain right now, I just think from pure upside, it's probably Christian Kirk for me. Like he doesn't have, he's the cheapest, and I feel like, especially since Zay Jones has been out, I feel like we've seen his production increase. So in terms of snap count, which last week doesn't really count because it was complete blowout. It was complete blowout of Indianapolis. But week 1, we saw Christian Kirk on the field 60%. Remember, Zay Jones was there. Week 2, I think Zay Jones got hurt in this game. His snap count went up to 81%, brother. Then 86, 79, 83, 70, pretty much right on par with Calvin Ridley, outside of last week where it was a blowout. He was only on the field 70% of the time because, I mean, they didn't need him out there, right? And then if you go to the targets, God, I thought I had this pulled up. Here we go. If you go to the targets, Blender, when we look at Christian Kirk, now look at this now, and I'm a big proponent of this. So week 1, Christian Kirk had 13 targets. I mean, 3 targets. Week 2, 14. Week 3, 6. 12, 8, and 6. So he's had pretty much more or equal targets to Ridley. And then just to back up our Evan Ingram claim, Blender, Evan Ingram, since Zay Jones has went out, 8, 8, 8, 8, 7. So he's really equal to Calvin Ridley. They're pretty much all equal. So if they're all going to be equal, then I might as well take the cheaper guy that's going to get the same volume. Like he's not, and what, like you said, ADOT's different. We understand that, but the opportunities are the same, and that's what I'm looking at. So for me, Christian Kirk does have big play ability down the field, so he would be my captain choice here.
Okay, so now in our lineup, in our little dummy lineup this morning, Kirk and the captain. We already have Thomas Ingram in here.
Yeah,
so we're going to play Kirk and the captain most likely.
Which actually
we already
makes
have Ingram
sense.
In there.
Yeah,
we're going to play Trevor Lawrence.
Absolutely,
and the other
absolutely.
And then let's see what we do if we put Kamara in the other flex. We have 5,200 left.
Look at that.
5,200 is like we could play Rashid. We could play Rashid in this lineup. We could play Brandon McManus. We could play where's the Saints kicker?
Yeah, I don't know where he is. He's not in there.
Saints kicker. Do we not have him projected? The Saints kicker is what, Blake Group?
Yeah.
50. Oh, he's 5,200.
Yeah.
There you go. There's the lineup. Kirk and the captain, Thomas Ingram, Lawrence, Kamara group. I mean, this is the lineup. I mean, obviously in large field, like this lineup is going to be duped. I could tell you for absolutely and unequivocally, this lineup may be duped not only once, not only 5 times, not only 10 times, but 50, 100. I mean, you're using 50K salary and the lineup makes sense, and you're playing all guys that are going to be like owned enough.
Yeah.
Like small field. Yeah, I mean, you could play it and maybe it's still profitable even at 88 dupes, but like if I was playing a 100-man contest, like I wouldn't mind playing this lineup.
Yeah. And so, Blender, here's the thing, too. You kind of have to know, like, here's why contest selection matters. So, on Sunday, I was on the Showdown show, and I want to go back to, can I get back to my lineup? But anyway, on Sunday, Blender, I felt so good about Showdown that I decided to play, like, some 3- and 4-man contests. Like, that's how good I felt about Showdown on Sunday. For what I just felt good, right? And it was actually on. It was actually on Owner's Box, but that's a new site that we don't talk about as much. But this one was on Owner's Box, and here's why I'm bringing this up. So first of all, on new sites, the field is going to be slightly softer until everybody kind of catches up. So you just got to know how to make money there. But I started sitting back and thinking. I said, well, if I really like this slate and I kind of know what people are going to do and I feel like I'm on the right path, I might as well get in some of these 3 and 4 mans and win some money while I'm at it, right? So I did that. And when I went back to, give me a second. I'll tell you what I played on Sunday. And I made money in the GPP as well. But like I said, these 3 and 4 mans, I make money there too. Here's what I played: CeeDee Lamb, Keenan Allen, Dak Prescott, Ferguson, Gerald Everett. Right, that's what I played. Jake Ferguson didn't really do anything, but you just have to understand how the field was going to think. Everybody pretty much in the contest either had CeeDee Lamb or Keenan Allen in the MVP slot there. What they didn't do, and I knew they weren't going to, what they did not do was go double tight end. You see what I'm saying? And both of the tight ends were fairly cheap, fairly reasonable. And so I was able to get both of those in with pretty much other high quality players. Whereas sometimes we try to balance it out too much, right? We try to get all median projected guys because we want a lot of points. Well, but you still need more points than the other people. Do you get what I'm saying, Blender? Sometimes we lean too much into the median rather than
not to the ceiling. It's like
correct.
Right, sometimes people, it's like, well, I can't jam in the 3 highest. Like, for instance, on this slate, like, people will look at lineups. People will shy away from a lineup like this. Like let's say instead of like the Thomases and the Ingrams, right? We say, okay, well, I want to play Olave in the captain spot, right? Or I want to play Kamara. You play Kamara in the captain spot, but I also want to play Etienne and Olave, right? And I also want to play Derek Carr, right? Because he could throw it. And then you like average remaining player salary is 3,200. And then they look down and they go, oh my God, what the hell's down here? And they're like, well, I'm going to play what's down here? There's not. I'm going to play the Shaheed, and you have 1,400 left. And it's like, well, there's nothing. Well, then you play Brandon Strange as a tight end, just a random. And they go, oh, but this lineup, like Brandon Strange could score like no points. It's like, yeah, and it's still, this lineup could still be optimal because all these other guys could, like, what happens if Kamara scores 35? Etienne has 2 touchdowns. Olave has 100 yards and a touch. Like, you'd want to jam in all the highest priced guys that score tons of points, and you could get away with 1 point, 0 points, 2 points in 1 or 2 spots.
Yeah,
but of course, that's the scenario. Though, but that isn't a median scenario. That's when 2 or 3 guys are the ones that put up like all the points on a slate. Yeah. And the only way to jam in all 3 of them is that you got to do like 2 garbage, shitty tight ends on the bottom, right? And
let's take it back. Best. Let's take it back like 2 to 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. Let's go 4 years ago with FanDuel. I'm just talking through this just to cement your point here. Because it was the same exact strategy. We're just not thinking about it. Like, it was literally the same. Now, I'm saying compared to what you're talking about. FanDuel came out with a bright idea of drop your lowest score for fantasy. So
right, this is the NBA.
Right, yeah, sorry. I didn't clarify. This was NBA. Right. Thank you.
Right, and people didn't realize that they should probably just punt away one position regardless.
Blender, I did it.
That score to drop.
Yeah, I did it so much, Blender, because what would happen is, especially on the nights, Blender, where you could actually get 2 to 3, or let's say two actual 3 to 4K guys that were actually going to produce. You literally you could load up on the stars. It didn't matter what stars they were. It could have been Russell Westbrook. It could have been James Harden. It could have been LeBron. It could have been Kevin Durant. It didn't matter. It did. Don't get me wrong. It did matter. It could have been Kawhi, but the point was, you could literally take 1 to 2 value plays because you just found the weakest position and said, okay, I'm going to take a 3K guy here that could do something, could not do something. It doesn't matter. I'm already planning to drop that score. And you find the best, you play Steph Curry or whatever, point guard, you punt the second point guard. Typically, we're always going to get a cheap shooting guard for 4K that's going to get you 30 fantasy points that night. And you roll it from there. And because you're approaching it as you're intentionally planning for this particular person to not score or do anything. And I think that's what you're saying when you're looking at this game, or as the example you were painting was, hey, if you really want all these high median projected guys, then you're going to have to make some concessions. And the concession is Brandon Strange at $600. I'm not looking at what his price is, but the point is that's the concession you're making to try to actually increase the floor and the upside of your team. Oh, and by the way, Brandon Strange was on the field 53% of the time last week. Now, prior to that, it was 27, and prior to that, it was 39 and 29. But the point is, he's not going to not do anything, but he could also not do anything. And if he does, okay, let's just hope the rest of our lineup, all the production is centered around these guys.
Right, you're not playing Brenton Strange or Keith Kirkwood or Jamal Agnew or Luke Farrell. You're not playing these guys because these guys could score 15 points. No, you're playing them so you could play 5 other spots in your lineup that are a lot of salary, and they score a lot of points. And
if they score 8, hallelujah, great,
hallelujah,
it's a good day. Yeah,
right. If they score 2, you can still win a GPP with them scoring 2, depending on how high the other players in your lineup score.
Exactly.
So people shy away from some of these cheapies. They're trying to go, what cheapie is Kendry Miller going to do well? It's like, I'm not playing Kendry Miller because he's Kendry Miller. I'm playing him because I can jam in 4 expensive guys.
Yes.
And he's just a guy that he's the drop a score guy. It's like, if he puts up 0, it still may not matter. Right.
Yeah,
and if he gives me 5, I can win.
Yeah. And for me, I love slates where all the production is centered around guys like this, because I do get to play Brenton Strange. Like the Cowboys, to me, Blender, are like one of my favorite Showdown teams right now. I think they've been on maybe 2 or 3. I can't remember. But because I just play Kevontae Turpin every time. Like Kevontae Turpin is up being $200 or $300. I know he's got a shot at a kick return. I know he's got a shot at a gadget play for them to hand in the ball, and he's got a shot at 1 target. So I go in knowing he's got limited opportunities, but he's got big playability. He could run a kickback. He could get 1 catch for 20 yards. He could get 1 carry for 20 yards. I don't care. But they're going to price him at $200, $300, $400 every week, and I get to play him every time the Cowboys play, and it opens up all that salary to do other really great things. So I think it's a great call by you for this particular slate. Great call.
Well, we'll have more. We'll have more calls. We'll have more analysis on the NFL pre-lock show. That's tonight, 7:45 Eastern or so, here on the YouTube channel. So hit that notification bell. You'll know when we go live. People can follow you on Twitter as well as in the Chiefs prop shop in the Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. There, it's free. You could just join and have fun in there. And you're looking forward. We're going to be getting basketball back in less than a week. Good luck to good. Say goodbye to your Knights late swapping 40 times.
Well, hopefully I don't have to do that the first week. But Blender, we
say that we say that every year, and we always have to do it.
I know. I know James Harden's going to come back for game 1 after no practice, and we're all going to be scrambling.
No, someone's going to be held out of the first game for load management, and we're going to be like, what kind of joke is this? It's the first game of the what load? There's been no load yet.
Right. It's probably going to be Kawhi Leonard. If I had to guess anybody to be held out of game 1, it's Kawhi Leonard. Oh boy.
But we'll talk more about NBA in
sure.
the upcoming shows. You'll be here. You're typically on this show, once a week or so. So hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door. Hit all the buttons on YouTube. It helps us out. Some free content here. Sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. You'll get all the updated ownership, all the updated projections, all the premium content. Look out for SimLabs. I'll be showing that off on this show when it does get released. And send in questions to the mailbag. Questions at theoryofdfs.com. Goes directly to me, and I answer them on the show. So I'm here. 11 o'clock Eastern, Monday through Friday. Talking about all things you're thinking about in daily fantasy, props, and pick 'em on RotoGrinders Today.